Joan, a young woman feeling unfulfilled with her life and engaged to a man named Krish, wakes up and prepares for work at a modern tech company called Osonicole. At breakfast, Krish serves her scrambled eggs, but Joan is distracted by a text message from her ex, Mac, who says he's in town and misses her. At work, Joan is forced to fire her assistant, Sandy, due to management decisions, leading to a heated confrontation. Joan responds to Mac's message, stating that she's working, and then leaves for a therapy appointment. Joan explains to her therapist that she feels like she's on autopilot and not the main character of her own life, and the therapist encourages her to change that. Afterward, Joan texts Mac to meet at a bar that night. At the bar, Joan feels anxious and abruptly leaves Mac, heading back to Krish's house. Back home, Joan and Krish settle in to watch TV, and they choose Joan Is Awful on the Streamberry app. They are shocked to discover that the show closely mirrors Joan's own life events, with Salma Hayek playing a character based on her. Joan and Krish are watching Joan Is Awful, a Streamberry show depicting Joan's life, and Joan becomes increasingly upset by her portrayal. She is angry that the show is making her look like a monster, even though it's just Salma Hayek playing her. Krish's discomfort escalates when the show portrays Joan having sex with Mac, prompting him to mention a text from Mac. Joan's emotional state worsens as she insists the show embellishes her life and claims she hasn't seen Mac in a long time. Krish demands to see her phone, leading to a fight, and he leaves despite Joan's pleas for him to stay. The next day at work, Joan, having been fired from her job, awkwardly asks a co-worker, Mike, how she came across in the show. Mike reveals she inadvertently broke her NDA by mentioning the algorithm, data server, and carbon footprint on the show. Joan argues it isn't fair because it was Salma Hayek's character that said it. Joan then consults her lawyer, who informs her that Streamberry has the legal right to use her life due to the terms and conditions she agreed to. Enraged and feeling helpless, Joan storms out of the lawyer's office. Krish watches the Joan Is Awful show, seeing his and Joan's lives dramatized, including a scene where Joan argues with Krish about the implications of their intimate moments being public. Krish becomes upset by the portrayal. Afterwards, Hayek, the actress playing Joan, arrives home, changes, and binge-eats burgers and laxatives. She then dresses as a cheerleader, smears FU on her face, and disrupts a wedding, resulting in a mugshot. Back home, Hayek is cheered by the TV showing her antics. Hayek video chats with her lawyer Hayes about the unflattering portrayal, particularly the defecation scene, but Hayes confirms that Streamberry has the rights to use her likeness in this way. Hayek fires Hayes and storms out, encountering the real Joan, who invites her inside. Inside, Joan and Hayek argue about the situation, with Joan explaining the personal fallout of the show and Hayek defending herself. Joan convinces Hayek that they need to take action against Streamberry to reclaim their lives, specifically targeting CEO Mona Javadi. They plan to destroy the central Streamberry computer server. Hayek, using her celebrity status, gains access to the Streamberry offices, intending to confront Mona Javadi. Fatima and her boss discuss the awful program, with the boss claiming affirmative content didn't resonate because it didn't chime in with their neurotic views of themselves, while Fatima expresses discomfort that their AI is using the negative portrayal, but the boss dismisses it. Meanwhile, Salma Hayek, disguised, is intercepted by Annie Murphy, who encourages her to remove her hoodie. Fatima then gives Murphy and Hayek a tour of Streamberry's technology, explaining that Joan Is Awful is a product of their R&D and that the computer generates the show's content. Fatima reveals the algorithm targets average nobodies using their data and shows them a video database with her own Fatima Is Awful portrayal, upsetting her. Hayek, realizing the show is real and will stream soon, suggests destroying the computer. Murphy creates a diversion while Hayek searches for the computer and finds it. They confront a programmer, and Hayek, realizing her portrayal is damaging her brand and that she didn't sign up for this, attacks him. The programmer explains that they are playing an adaptation of Joan, and there is a source Joan in reality. Murphy grabs an axe to destroy the computer, despite the warnings of a Streamberry executive that doing so will destroy all universes, including themselves. Murphy swings the axe anyway. Annie is then arrested, while the real source Joan is shown coming out of therapy wearing an ankle monitor. Source: Annie Murphy is working at a coffee shop and looks directly at the camera.